Guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Hack Check podcast. I got a special guest today, Don Madge. Don, thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I really appreciate the time. I know you're very busy, and for hosting us at MadFit. When did you open this gym? I know you were at a previous gym before, but when did you open this gym and how are things going here?
So we actually opened the gym in the end of 2015. We had like a small little studio in Bree Street, and it came by like complete fluke. Someone that I knew owned the studio, and they were like, "Look, we'd really love to have like a martial arts gym here." And they contacted me, and so then I spoke to my boxing coach Matt, who we own the gym together now. And I was like, "Look, man, like, why don't we go and like explore this option and see if we can, make something for ourselves?" And here we are, like 7 years later.
7 years, yeah.
We're doing pretty well. We've got like a nice big gym now, and probably the biggest gym in Cape Town at the moment. And come a long way.
And I've seen you guys at a lot of the competitions. I know you've got a big variety of people. We were chatting a little bit before the show about the different kinds of people that you have here. And I'm sure that's one of the rewarding things is that, before with mixed martial arts gyms, it was very like, I don't want to say niche, but it was kind of like just for fighters. Mm-hmm. And now it's kind of transitioned to being for your everyday person. It's not just the people wanting to get their self-defense, but it's also people that just want to learn how to do mixed martial arts because it's a fun thing to do. So I'm sure you guys have quite a big variety of people that come and train here.
Man, it's crazy because you start to see that everyone that's in the gym, we all have like very similar sort of like mindsets and very similar like beliefs in terms of like training and like lifestyle, but we're all like different, like so different. Like people that are like, you got people that are like doctors, you got people that are like students, you got people that are like policemen, you got professional fighters. Like it's just, there's so many different people from so many different walks of life, and but we all like share the same common interest, which is like really, really cool to see, because it's like the best like sort of form of community, because even though we're all like so different, we're all very, very much the same. And I think like that's what I love the most about like martial arts, is that like everyone on the mat's the same. We're all equal, and it doesn't matter like what car you drive outside.
What's going on with your life at the moment, anything like that. Yeah.
Exactly.
So when you started out, what was it like back then? When did you start out? What age were you? Everybody obviously knows your MMA exploits and your Muay Thai exploits, but where did it all start for you? Who got you introduced, or who introduced you into martial arts, and at what age?
Sure. I mean, like I think I started judo and karate when I was like 5 or 4.
Wow.
Like I was really young.
Yeah.
My family's like always sort of done martial arts, like especially karate and judo. My mom did judo when she was like a SA junior champion.
Really?
Yeah, in judo.
Wow.
So I've kind of always been sort of just doing martial arts. When I was young, I always wanted to be like a ninja,
Okay,
yeah. I used to watch
Three Ninjas.
Like Three Ninjas.
Yeah.
And, like,
have you watched it again since you were young?
No.
Don't do it.
I just
It'll ruin your childhood.
I did that with the movie Kickboxer. That got me into Muay Thai.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my god, it's like the worst thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
But so like I was like so obsessed with like being like a ninja, So I just like I loved martial arts, and then when I was around 14 years old, I found Muay Thai. It was like the first time like I'd ever seen it. I'd given up karate because I got like quite bored with it, because like I'd enter all like the kumites, and like you're not allowed to hit in the face, and then like I'd always lose because I'd get DQ'd, like hitting the kid in the face, and then be like losing the match. But I'm like, but I'm winning the match, like I'm winning the fight. Yeah, I'm like punch the guy in the face, like, and so I got like bored of that pretty quickly, and then then I wasn't training at all, and I watched the movie Kickboxer, and I was like, that looks fun. Like, let's do that. And then my brother's girlfriend at the time was actually training at a gym here in town.
Oh yeah.
And he was like, she does that stuff. Why don't you go try it out? And then I went and I tried it out. I was hooked. And then I was like,
did the karate help you with the kicking aspect much, or was it completely different? I know Muay Thai and karate are very different. But were there certain aspects of the karate that actually helped you out with it, or was it kind of like starting from scratch?
I mean, like it was, I mean, I guess it did help because obviously I already knew how to like kick. You know, I already knew like the sort of mechanics of kicking. But obviously, like you say, you know, like karate is a bit more of like a snap, whereas Muay Thai is a bit more like whippy.
Yeah.
But the mechanics were like, the thing I struggled the most was the boxing. Because obviously at karate, your hands go down to your hip. And that was like the toughest thing for me to learn, was to like keep here and like punch and like not drop that hand. You know, that was the toughest thing for me to like sort of out train. You know, because like I was so used to going like doing katas and stuff like that. You know, so like you're so used to just doing that, and then when you shadow boxing, you start like doing the same thing and like getting corrected, and you're like, but it's so hard to like unchange that, especially when you learn from young. So that was like the biggest struggle for me initially. But you know, like I'd always, even like in school, I'd always been like kind of like, you know, getting into like little scraps and stuff, you know, like, so like I kind of already knew like how to like sort of handle myself, you know, like it wasn't like,
and how to like adapt to situations.
Yeah, it wasn't like I was like afraid of like the like contact, you know. I was like keen for it, you know. So I guess like having trained martial arts my whole life kind of helped me in a way. So I always say that to people that like want to start like any kind of martial arts. They're like, oh, but I did karate. I'm like, anything is better than nothing, you know.
Yeah, people give karate a hard time. Yeah. Like actually, my wife is a black belt in karate as well. So and her dad as well. So. And I did karate when I was a kid as well, and people give it a hard time. But like, if you've got to defend yourself, any martial art's going to help
100%.
you, or pretty much any martial art. But I mean, if you come up against, if you come up, I think we know which one won't. But if you come up against someone that's untrained, or someone that's just looking to fight, or you know, that's going to help you.
Absolutely.
And then if you really want to know how to handle yourself, you shouldn't go looking for trouble. But I mean, if you really want to know how to handle yourself against strong people, and you've got your jiu-jitsus, your judos, your wrestling, and that kind of thing. So it isn't useless, like you say.
Absolutely. Like I always say that to people. They like ask me about, oh, but like judo wouldn't be practical in a real fight, and I'm like, okay, but if you don't know anything and an Olympic level judoka grabs you, you're gonna be unconscious by hitting your head on the floor in like a matter of seconds. Yeah. Like a matter of. I know I've grappled quite a few like really good judokas, and like started standing like trying like in the gi. And like, and I know how to wrestle, you know, and like I just like your legs just start going up in the air like before you even know it, you know, like it's just so quick. You're like, geez, how did that happen so quickly? And I think, and I'm like a professional fighter, you know, like, and so I just think like, you know, knowing anything is better than knowing nothing.
100%.
Most people think they know.
Yeah, until it's time to find out.
No one knows.
Yeah, no, that's true. And so you started at 14, and then you were already in Thailand at 18. Was that correct, or before 18? Or
so
how did you get there that quickly? Like, what, were you just natural at it, or?
So I had yeah, man, my Thai experience was crazy. So I had when I was young, I had a Thai trainer that I used to train with in Weinberg, and I used to go and train with him all the time, and he had to leave to go back. His like visa ran out or whatever. He was working in like a restaurant or something, like cooking or whatever. And I met him by like chance. It wasn't like, it was about by chance, you know. It's like someone that I was training with, like knew him, and like I was like, I want to train with like the best person, obviously. And so I started training with him. And then when he left, he was like, you should come to Thailand.
That's cool.
Like, come to
you
Thailand.
You don't get that chance every day. I mean,
no. And so I was like, okay, for sure. And like at the time, like I skipped grade 9. I was like I was naughty in school. Okay. So I was like, always changing schools.
So you skipped it because you just changed schools, or like did they? What happened?
So I got I mean I've been asked to leave a few schools, okay. And so after like you've left the third school or whatever, like most schools don't want to take you in anymore, you know. Yeah. So like it becomes like a little bit difficult, and then so I skipped grade 9 completely, and I did 10 and 11 in 1 year, and then matric. Okay. So I matriculated when I was 16. Okay. That's how I got to go to Thailand again, so young. So I went to Thailand and loved it, like absolutely loved it. Like couldn't speak any Thai. No one in the gym could speak English. No one held pads for me. No one like trained me because I was like this foreigner, and I would just like hit the bag all day and get thrown around in the clinch by these like monsters, and just take fights. And like as I started like getting fights and started to win, and like the guys were like, okay, no. Then like every now and again, like on like a Friday when it was like quiet, they'd be like, come, I'll hold like 1 round of pads for you. And like so you start like building like a little reputation around the gym, and then like they start, yeah, exactly. And then so for my like matric year, like I said, I matriculated when I was 16. I had to like, we had to message the like Ministry of Education or whatever, so that I could finish writing like earlier than everyone else. I had to like write like, I think I wrote like 8 in the morning or 7 in the morning or something, because I had a flight to catch at 11 to go to Thailand. Because I was like, I have to go back. Like I just have to go, and I just have to be in Thailand. Like that's where I need to be to keep fighting. Also, like the problem was I was fighting here, but like because you're a junior, you know, like I had to like, it was so hard for me to get fights because the kids that I was fighting, I was just murdering. I fought like, no, they did, but it was so hard to get an adult to agree to fight this kid who's like murking people.
Okay, it's a big risk for them then, obviously.
Yeah,
okay.
And like I was knocking out like adults, like
really?
Men, you know, and it's like, and then it's like, okay, well, like I don't really, like I kind of want to fight the kid, but I don't really want to
fight for them, I'm sure, because
if
it's
you
like
beat a kid.
You beat a kid.
Exactly.
Yeah, and then if you get knocked out by a kid, I mean, you're probably.
And then like the worst thing was like the parents were like saying, oh no, he's on steroids, he's like this, he's like that. It's like just because I was better than them, you know. I'd been training with like a Thai, and like been to Thailand.
Were you bigger than the other kids as well, or was it?
I mean, I was this height at like 15, so I was like really tall.
So bigger and more skillful.
But I was like skinny, like really skinny. I don't know if you saw me in my first UFC fight.
Yeah, I
really skinny.
Yeah, exactly like that.
That's exactly how I was like most of my life. So I was like
Muay Thai
tall.
Doesn't matter that much, I'm sure.
No, it was like the perfect build for Muay Thai actually. Like I was long and tall, you know, like it was like perfect build.
And hard shots.
Yeah, exactly. And so like most of the kids that I fought, I was like a bit taller than. But even when I fought adults, because I've been fighting at 70 kilograms my whole life. I mean, I think my first fight was at 67, but it's like been fighting like in that gap like my whole life. So most of even the adults, I was taller than, you know, like I was just like a tall kid. And yeah, so like the biggest struggle for me was like, I want to be a world champion in Muay Thai, but I can't get any fights here because like I can fight like maybe twice a year, 3 times a year here. But in Thailand, I can fight every weekend.
Was it big here? Sorry, I don't want to cut your story off, but was it big in South Africa when you were doing Muay Thai? Or, I mean, I'm sure there was like a limited number of people to fight as well.
Dude, actually at the time, like, I call it like the golden era of Muay Thai in South Africa. Like,
really?
Yeah, like there were, I was training, when I first started, I started at a gym called Dragon Power with Quinton Chong.
Yeah.
And he had events like, maybe 6-7 events a year.
Really?
Yeah, he would have quite a few events. And so and then we would go to Joburg to go like do fights in Joburg. I fought like in a 8-man like tournament cup thing, and I was like the only kid, and like I won that 3 fights in 2 days. Like it was like professional rules, but because I was under 18, I had to wear like elbow pads and shin pads and shit. Yeah.
Is that to protect you or to protect them?
I think it's more like about the organization to like save face, so that you don't have like a child fighting professional rules, but it was professional rounds and like fighting men, you know, like yeah. I think one of the guys that I fought, his name is Wayne from Winkel, and he's like a long time veteran of kickboxing. Like him and Leon Maynard used to like train together. Okay. I fought him and I knocked him out in the second round. Wow. And I was like at 16. I was 15. I was 15. Yeah. Damn, yeah. I smoked him. And then there's another guy named Brett Clark who actually owns a gym in Pretoria, Warrior Sports or something like that. I fought him. He was also like already like a kickboxing champion, Muay Thai champion. I fought him and I beat the shit out of him as well. Yeah, I was like just a little kid, and so like that was the problem. It's like I was traveling to go fight, and like because
the best guys. I mean, so
and because Muay Thai was so small, everyone knew. So like. It was like really tough to like continue fighting here. And then obviously I went to Thailand, did my whole thing in Thailand. Then when I would come back, like again, I would like try and get a fight, like no one would want to fight. And then I would have to start fighting K1. Because like now like in Muay Thai I was like no one was gonna fight. So I would have to start fighting K1. And then the same thing, I would have to fight like 2 guys in one day, just so I can get like more fights, you know? I would fly to Joburg and like fight 2 guys in one day. You know, like no problem, like it's fine.
Was it like back to back, or was it like spread out a little bit? Or?
the one I fought like at like 8 o'clock, and then the next guy I fought at like 10. So I had like a little break.
Like pretty much back to back.
Basically, yeah. But like it was quick fights, so I beat them both. I stopped them both. So like I didn't have to fight like long. But again, it was like just such a struggle to be here as a Muay Thai fighter. It was like really, really tough. So that's actually why I started MMA. It wasn't because I wanted to do MMA. I was like, I'll never do MMA. The striking's so shit. These guys are so like average. I don't want to do that. Like I'm a purist, you know.
Yeah.
And you know, eventually like living away from like your family, your friends as a youngster, it starts to become tough, you know. Like I was like basically having to like live in Thailand if I wanted to do what I enjoyed. And I enjoy competing, you know, like doesn't matter like really what sport. I just like competing. I'm just really good at fighting. So that's why I pursued it the most, you know. But if I was good in any, like as good as I am in fighting for anything else, I probably would have pursued that too, you know. It's just I really like to compete. I'm really competitive. And so when I came back, like all the guys that were like used to doing Muay Thai were now doing MMA. So I was like, okay, well, let's just try that.
The next natural progression. So how many years were you in Thailand for? Was it 3 or 4? Four.
Yeah.
Is it? And then so it was kind of tough for you to get fights as well, because like you say, it was people didn't know who you were at the time. And when you started to build up your reputation, obviously then it became easier to get fights. You fought a world champion back in Thailand, didn't you?
I fought him twice. Yeah.
Twice.
I fought him twice. Yeah. So the first time I fought him, I didn't know we were fighting for a world title. I just thought we were having a fight. I thought we were having a fight. So I went to like the stadium and like did like the white, or like before I did the white crew, like we got into the thing, and then like all these guys came into the middle, presented a bout, or like taking photos. I was like, holy shit, this is bigger than I thought it was. And like the guy was good, really, really good. I wasn't like ready for that level of competition yet. And it was very competitive. Like I knocked him down in the second round. But then like third round, fourth round, he just came and clinched me and just kneed the bejesus out of me and like stopped me in the fourth round with like knees to the body. It was just too much for me at the time. But then I rematched him again in like 2010, I think. I think the first fight was 2008, and then the second time was 2010. And then we went to decision. I lost a split decision to him. Same guy, but it was much more competitive this time. It was like really, really close. He won like because he got like a sweep or something in the fourth round. Like it was like close. So like razor thin. Yeah.
But how does it work there with the world titles? Because you become world champion, but don't you fight to be the champion of a stadium there, or how does it work exactly?
Yeah, so it depends. So you can win like national champion, like Thailand champion. You can win stadium champion, so depending on which stadium you're fighting at, or you can win like a world title. So like a world title, there's like a bunch of different organizations like in boxing. So it's like WPMF, WMC, WMO. Like there's a bunch of WBC. There's like a bunch of different organizations, and you can fight for that, and you're the champion of the world in that organization. Being a champion of a stadium is way harder, way harder, because that means every person that competes in that stadium at that weight, you have to be the best of that division. So like that, if you're in Thailand and you're fighting like the toughest division is probably like 61, if you're the champion of like Ratchadamnern Stadium at 61, you are like a murderer, like a killer, like an assassin in Muay Thai. Because you're literally fighting the best guys that fight at that stadium living in Thailand at that time, at that weight. So like at world title fight, you can get a world title fight and never fought in the stadiums ever, you know? And you can just get it because maybe you know the right promoter or whatever, you know? It's very similar to boxing.
Yeah.
You know, you can be a world champion and never really fought like the...
You got a padded record.
Yeah, you don't fight the murderers, you know?
Yeah.
But if you champion of like a Thai stadium, you fought murderers. Like that's just the way it is. So like oftentimes like the Thais respect the stadium title more than like the world title.
Okay.
And so like that was like my like sort of goal was to be like a stadium champion. Like that was, I wasn't really too worried about world title. Like you want to be a stadium champion. Like for foreigners to win like a major stadium like Ratchadamnern or Lumpini, like there's only been like a handful of guys in the history of Muay Thai that have done it that aren't Thai.
Yeah.
So it's like massive. It's massive, yeah.
So what is the biggest stadium? Is it Lumpini Stadium?
Ratchadamnern is probably like the biggest one now. Lumpini used to be like the gold standard, but like Ratchadamnern now, because of there's more like media attention on it now. So like they have like televised fights more and like internationally televised. They have like English commentators now.
Oh, right.
Whereas Lumpini's still a little bit more like classic, yeah. But everyone wants to be famous in Thailand, so I mean, all fighters want to be famous.
Yeah,
that's like the path to like getting more money, getting more like better fights.
Get all around.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everyone wants to fight at be the Ratchadamnern Stadium. Like it's actually changing now. Like a lot of Thai fighters want to be the ONE FC champion.
Okay.
Because obviously the media coverage of it, and like if you see the champions of ONE FC for Muay Thai, they're all Thai, and they're all really good.
Yeah.
Like really really good. So like most Thais now like slowly starting to build to get to ONE FC because that's like the goal now instead of like being a stadium champion.
It's cool because now, like, I'm sure when you started, I don't even know if Bellator was around back then. I think it was what was the guys that used to have the Rockstar logo in the ring? Anyway,
yeah,
I forget.
WEC.
Yeah, WEC. Yeah, so it was WEC and UFC, but now you've got one championship. There's Brave. I think you've got someone fighting at Brave this weekend. Tonight. Yeah.
Chad,
Brave is there. Bellator's kind of made a comeback. PFL, of course.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more opportunities for people to actually make it in anything. And ONE FC is doing a good job with not just mixed martial arts, and UFC started now as well with their on the Fight Pass having the grappling competitions as well. I think it's really cool, like what ONE FC is doing in particular.
Yeah.
I actually didn't know too much about ONE FC because I know Demetrius Johnson went there, and then I watched Shatri on that Apprentice show on Netflix, and I was like actually like really intrigued because they were showing a lot of the stuff that they were doing, and it's really cool. And now I see they've gone into the US as well with Rich Franklin's like promoting that whole thing. How was your experience in ONE FC recently? I know the weigh-in aside, but I mean, what are your impressions of ONE FC like as an event as a whole?
I mean, it's great. I mean, they're like running a really really tight. Obviously, I've experienced like the UFC, the PFL. I've been at Bellator with like Chris Cyborg. Like I've experienced like the way that like the things run, and like ONE FC is like right up there. Obviously, you know, like there's a reason that they're doing so well and they have such a big following. I think it's really cool that they do like grappling, K1, Muay Thai, MMA. They have like you can literally compete in a different rule set like 4 times a year, 5 times a year. It's like amazing, you know. So if you're like a person like me, for instance, that's like had Muay Thai experience, I could fight like Muay Thai fight, then like 2 months later fight an MMA fight, then do a grappling comp. Like it's quite cool.
There's a lot of action. I mean,
Yeah.
you can stay active.
Absolutely. The only thing with ONE FC obviously is that I don't think it has the same sort of like pool in like the West as like Bellator, PFL, and UFC. So like if you're living in like Russia or Australia or that side of the world, great. Like, you know, also the time zones and stuff, you know. So, but for like us in South Africa, we're kind of like stuck like in the middle of like, so we're kind of screwed for both ends, you know.
Yeah.
So you like I noticed that now when I was there, like most of the people that fight are Asian or like I mean I guess Russia is Asian as well, but like so it's mainly like that side of the world that compete. Yeah, even like the Europeans is more like Eastern Europeans, not so much like Western guys. You have like obviously a couple of Americans that go there, but it's mainly that side of the world, which is great because obviously it's the biggest populations in the world. So they've kind of got their market like mapped out. I think it's gonna be really tough for them to break the US market just with the competition. Obviously, like UFC has that on like lock. You know,
100%.
Their media is like
they're a big machine. I mean, they're the biggest machine. It's always hard to take. It's always hard to take the biggest machine down.
So like that's I think like obviously we're headed in the right direction because the more competition, the better for fighters. And I think like organizations like the PFL, for instance, they're doing the right thing. They're making it more about like the sport than like human cockfighting, you know?
Yeah.
Like, because that's kind of like what the UFC's become now. It's like, who talks the most shit? Who's the most like, who has the most tattoos on their face and fucking colored hair and shit? Like, that's the guy who gets the big fights.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not about like just
the best fighting the best.
The best guy.
Yeah, and it used to be about that. That's what made it so attractive for people to watch. Was like, it wasn't like we spoke about boxing earlier. It's like you get a guy just gets padded and padded and padded until he's like 20 fights in or 25 fights in. Then he might start getting tested.
Absolutely.
You know, it's like a big cash cow game.
Yeah,
exactly. Although I think he's very good.
Legit. He's legit.
I mean, he's very good. But
his last fight was good.
It's like Tyson Fury said about Anthony Joshua.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they ducked him. Well, Tyson Fury said they ducked him for a while. And I think I don't know if it was Joe Rogan who was asking him about like, why don't they take the risk? And like, well, they took the risk in the Klitschko fight and it almost didn't pay off.
Yeah.
And it's just about keeping the cash cow going, and which Conor McGregor, I'm a huge fan, or was, I mean, okay, he's a little bit weird antics now, but like, dude, people say he gets fights handed to him, like, but well, first off, he started the whole thing of like, it's about how much you talk and things, but he was actually good when he was fighting at his peak.
That's the difference,
And that's the difference, and that's why he became so successful. But you look at like, even in the welterweight division, like Jorge Masvidal, Nate Diaz, they amazing fighters. Like I'm not saying they aren't, and they're always a tough fight. They're always a risk to fight them, I'm sure. But their records are not the best. And even when they get like title fights, okay, Nate Diaz hasn't had a title fight in a while, but like the Jorge Masvidal, I mean, I think he won 2 fights and got a title fight.
Yeah.
You know, because of all the hype behind them.
And then got smoked.
And then got, exactly, yeah. So even now with Adesanya and that Alex Pereira, because of the story behind it now, it's like Alex Pereira's had, what, 3 fights?
Way too soon.
Yeah, it's way too soon.
I think like he has potential to give Izzy a run because like he is the only guy that's ever been competitive with him in kickboxing setting, you know.
He knocked him out in the one fight.
Yeah, and then beat him in a decision as well. Before that, they fought twice. So only 2 losses I think Izzy has is against Alex Pereira. I'm pretty sure, yeah. And Blackfish, yeah. But I think they're pushing that too soon, man. Like, cause like I do believe Izzy's gonna beat him if they fight now. Like 100%. He's too like his confidence too good. He's too experienced within the realm of MMA. I think he can like he could probably like, in my opinion, like take Pereira down and like win the fight on top. To be honest, just because of his experience with MMA. I think like in 2 years' time, that's a more competitive fight. You know, like I think then Pereira like having like maybe 6-7 more fights, like really getting comfortable and they're facing some wrestlers. Yeah, like I think then, because he's a scary dude. Like he's scary. But like you say, man, as soon as you get a little bit of hype, fight for the title, you know. It's like it's crazy. Unless they're like you're like a real cash cow like Sean O'Malley. Now he's getting thrown to the wolves. Now he's
dude, that's gonna be.
That's like murder.
I love Sean O'Malley, but dude, Pure Yan is
He's a murderer, bro.
But you actually even thrown in the deep end. I mean, from a young age. I mean, when you transitioned to MMA, you were young and like you know, it's you either sink or swim, and you swam. I mean, it's.
I mean, most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. But I mean, even like okay, you won your first fight and you went up against Leon Maynard, who you said, I mean, people who know MMA know Leon Maynard. I mean, seasoned striker, seasoned in MMA as well. And I mean, you actually were winning that first fight. I mean, it was like you were swimming. I wanted to ask you what happened at the end there, because I mean, what was the exact situation? Because I know there's something about the mouth guard, but like what can, I mean, when you remember back, like what happened?
So like obviously I was young, so like, you know, in hindsight, what I did was the wrong response for like the problem that I had. But basically he hit me and I had like one of those like Discam mouth oil and bite mask guards. And you see my teeth here. That's from that fight. Like he hit me and I bit right through the mouth guard and I chipped my tooth. So I like turned and I said to the ref, he hit my mouth guard out of my mouth. Wait, my mouth guard's out. I don't want to get hit again and fucking like lose teeth.
Yeah.
So I was like, he hit my mouth guard and he turned, and the ref turned to me and said, your mouth guard's still in. So he obviously thought like I was rocked. You know? But I mean I felt my teeth go. And I was like, shit. So then I said to him, okay, well, let's keep going then. And then he was about to start the fight again, and then like one of the officials from the outside was like, no, you can't stop the fight. You can't stop the fight. Like,
I think someone said verbal submission or something like that.
If you say stop, that means the fight's over, which in the rules it is.
It is, yeah.
It is. So like as a young fighter, I mean, I made that mistake, you know, instead of just being like, maybe like waiting for like the action to stop and then being like, listen, I think my mouth guard's out, or like maybe realizing that it's still in. But yeah, that was basically the situation. So I was like really pissed because I was like, you didn't even drop me. Like I understand if he hit me and I like dropped.
Yeah, he had cuts all over his face and he was bleeding
like,
and
was
like
murking him, and like he hit me. That was a really good shot, but I was like on my feet.
It's just your teeth scratching together. That's like.
I honestly thought he had hit me and my mouth guard flew and I like lost teeth.
Yeah.
So I was like, you can see in the video, like I go like, and then I'm like, okay, well let's keep going. You know?
Yeah.
And then obviously,
it's too late
the rules stipulate you can't do that. So like now as an older fighter, I understand that, you know, now that I'm experienced. But like you said, like I was kind of thrown in the deep end. Like after my first fight where I knocked out Wade Grath, I was in training. I remember when they offered us the fight with Leon, because me and Leon were friends back then. Like we had trained together. Like we were quite tight. We lived in Thailand together. I was living in Thailand. He came to come do like a training camp. He was already doing MMA at the time, and I was obviously fighting Muay Thai. And he actually lived with me. Like we lived together.
Yeah.
So like we were like tight, you know. And so when they offered the fight, I was in the gym. I'll never forget this. And like my Thai coach at the time, Gregor, he was like, oh, they want you to fight Leon. And I was like, at co-main event, and I was like, don't you think that's like a little too soon for me? You know, it's like my second ever MMA fight. Like there was no like amateur career. There was no like any of that. It was just literally professional Muay Thai, professional MMA.
So no amateur career at all?
No, nothing at all. Like,
wow.
Like it was literally just, so I remember this as well, because I wanted to do amateur MMA first.
Just to get a feel for everything.
They're like, oh no, you've already fought professional Muay Thai, you're a champion, a K1 champion, a South African Muay Thai champion, you're a world title holder in Muay Thai professionally, you've had like 80 plus professional fights. Like you can't fight an amateur now. Like it wouldn't be fair.
What if it was a grappler? I mean,
exactly.
And you've got no grappling experience.
My argument was like, okay, but if I can be the best striker in the world, but if he
controls the fight and takes you down,
a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, he's gonna take me down and he's gonna submit me for sure.
Yeah.
So, but they were like, no, you can't, because you've already had professional fights in South Africa. So I was like, okay, well, whatever, I'll risk it. You know, I don't care. I'll just go, and I believe in myself. You know. And so when that fight was offered, I said, guys, like I don't know if that's the right fight right now. You know, I don't think it's the right fight for me right now, because it's my second fight. Like what happens after this fight?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the problem that I had straight after that, is that like you have that fight, best fight they've ever seen in like UFC, like it's still the most viewed fight on YouTube.
And what then?
What do you do after that? I can't go back to fighting like fucking B-list guys.
Yeah.
Like there's no chance. Like you can't. So that was my problem. Is like, then I had a fight off that against Hector Brits, which was like, I was like, guys, I need to like start at the bottom again. You know, I need to work up. I went up too soon. You know, Icarus. I flew too close to the sun. You know. And so I was like, guys, I need like an entry level fight again. You know, because it's only my third fight. So then I got him, and I wanted a guy that like wasn't like maybe a grappler, but like someone I could test my grappling with. So like I tried to make it a grappling fight to like test out the waters. After that fight, then it was like, again, couldn't get any fights. Like no one. And it's like, then they were like, okay, well the only fight we have for you is a title fight against Castellano. So I'm like, is that the only fight you guys can give me? Like, Jesus, like, you go from like, yeah, you get Wade Grath, who's like a prospect, and you get Leon Maynard, who's like a star.
Yeah.
Then you get like another like no one, and now you gotta fight the champion.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, cool. So that was kind of like the story of my.
Again in the deep end again.
It's like straight into it, and then after that, you have to defend your title against the guy that you've already lost to. And it's like, you know, it's just like it's just like that cycle of continuous like massive fights. Like I think I fought like 5 like main events in a row.
Wow. And you're within your first 6 fights.
Exactly. So it's just like constant. Like I was learning in a professional setting. I never got like the time to sort of develop my MMA like arsenal at all. I had to like learn it through fighting.
Learn on the job.
Yeah. So like that was kind of like the story of like the first part of my career, was just like learning MMA. Like I was like, I think I got like my purple belt like in jiu-jitsu like after like Castellano. Like like,
but dude, that fight, so I was telling about my friend in the US, and like he was literally following your career from, he actually introduced me to your fights, and he was telling me about I used to watch EFC when Chris Bryde and Rika Hatton were fighting, and then I kind of stopped watching EFC because they had sort of stopped fighting there. And he's like, dude, you got to watch this guy Don Madge. He's like, he's Muay Thai fighter, went to Thailand, like giving me your record and all that kind of stuff. And then he was like, but you know, like these stand-up guys, usually they get taken down, and then he's probably going to get taken down, but it's going to be exciting to watch. And because Castellano's whole MO was take the guy down, just grind it out.
Yeah.
And then I started watching the fights, and I was like, you know, I love the stand-up. I didn't get to see much of the grappling, and I'm not like trying to insult you now, by the way.
No.
So then I was like, yeah, but Costa Ioana, we know like he's probably gonna take him down and grind it out. So we were watching the fight, and he took you down, and I was like, okay, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. It's not happening. It's not happening. It's not. And then you started to dominate the ground, and I was like, dude, what the hell is happening here? Like. And then I still remember in the post-fight interview, I remember that night, like you were talking about how much work you put in, and you could see it. And then like that was exactly right there, like all that work you put in, you could see the work you put in for that fight. I was like, I'm gonna be a fan of this guy forever. Like honestly, I mean, how much? I mean, you said you got your purple belt after that, but like, how long did you train in jiu-jitsu up to that point? And like, seriously, how much work did you put in? Did you just do ground game or
stupid? Like, I think I got my purple belt like right before that, like the end of the year before that. I think I fought him in like July or June or something. Like at the end of the year before that, I had just gotten my purple belt. So I'd only been training jiu-jitsu for 2.5-3 years. Wow. You put a performance like that. Yeah, I mean like, sorry. So yeah, like that, like the training camp for that was like ridiculous because I was trying to get a fight since I had fought in November, and then I was trying to get a fight since like January. So I was like constantly like in a training camp, like trying to like get a fight. And I was just like staying ready. And when they offered us the fight, I think it was in like March to fight Costa in like June or July. Was it June or July? I think it was June. So I was like, okay, I know what I need to do. It's gonna suck, but I know what I need to do. So I literally would do maybe 4 sessions a day, and 3 of those would be grappling, like either wrestling or jiu-jitsu, and the other one of them would be strength training because I knew he was strong. Like there was no ways I was going to match him physically at that point. There was no chance. I was like, I've got to start lifting. I'd never touched a weight before in my life, like never. I'd only done like cardio and like maybe like band work and stuff. So I was like, cool, now I need to start lifting weights. And so that's what I did. And actually that was like the reason that was like my toughest weight cut to date, was because I never cut weight before. Before it was like, okay, you diet the week of the fight and don't eat like the night before and you make weight. You know, I did it like Thailand, and I had done that like for my first 3 fights before that. It was easy. And then for this one, I like went from like walking around at like 77 kilograms to walking around like 85. Like I was like lifting weights, you know, I was like getting really strong.
And you get all those new gains when you start, dude.
I was like, man, feeling so good.
The best time to start like when you first start training, dude. It's like literally like everything works.
Yeah, and I was like, man, I feel so strong. Like is this what this is supposed to feel like? Like wow, like, you know. And I was like super weak. I was like deadlifting like 80 kilograms, like big whoop. Yeah. like I was like, wow, like this is like, for me, it's like a big deal, you know. Like I feel
if you go from
strong.
deadlifting, not deadlifting at all, 80 kilograms a massive jump.
Yeah, I was like, man, I'm doing this, you know. And so I focused really, really hard on like my conditioning, making sure that I was strong and fit, because I knew it was going to be a grind of a fight. And like I said, I would train. The 3 other sessions I would do in the day would be grappling, and every now and again I would hit pads with Matt. And that was just to like stay sharp, obviously, because in a perfect world we stay on the feet, I knock him out. You know, great. But yeah, I think like something like 20. I think we did like 27 sessions a week or something like stupid, like insane amounts of work. And like I literally would take in my training sessions. So my wrestling coach at the time was Conrad de Villiers, and he's a really, really good wrestler, and like he's like trained with like the US Olympic team and stuff, and he's 115 kilograms. So I'd wrestle with him every day, and just get like murdered. It was just about like basically surviving, like trying to like learn how to just handle that wrestling pressure. And then my grappling rounds was with like Khalil, who I don't know if you know who Khalil is. He's like one of like the best kept like jiu-jitsu secrets in South Africa, I think. Like he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. He actually got his purple belt from Hina Gracie after rolling with him. He was a white belt, and he rolled with him, and he's like, dude, you're a purple belt. And so he's a black belt now. How old is he? Must be like 45 or whatever. I think he trains with Eddie Lalo. Okay. I think they're like, he helps the jiu-jitsu at the gym there. So I would like train with him. I would train with, at the time, obviously Mike at PFA, Jacques Portelli. So like those are the guys. I would only roll with those guys. And and I would just have them like trying to murk me every day, like start in the worst positions and just like survive, you know, like and then I would do like my hard sessions in the morning, and then the evening I would join like the general session, and then roll with like people like my level, like purple belts, blue belts, and get to like apply my game. You know, that's why like in the fight, like I started feeling like I can actually apply my game here. So let me try it, like be on top and try grapple with this guy, because I had gotten the chance to experience that in like training. Yeah. But 90% of my training was me just getting crushed, you know, and like trying to like survive. But I started to feel like, wait, the momentum's changing, and I felt like when I was on top of him, I could keep him on his back. And I was like, cool, this isn't jiu-jitsu. In a jiu-jitsu match, probably beats me. But I can punch him in the face here, so I'm gonna keep him on his back. I'm gonna punch him in his face. And so that was just like my MO. I'm like, hold him here, punch him, and eventually he's gonna give me his back. And that was just the plan.
Yeah, dude, it was, I mean, like I watched highlights, like I said, I watched highlights of your fights, and then watching that fight was just, you could see it. I mean, it was insane, man. And then after that, you fought Leon again, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And again, like that was dude, like I can't let that one go. I feel I won that fight, bro. I took him down like a bunch of times. I had top position, almost choked him out in the 4th round, took his back like 4 times in the match. And I'm like,
was it a unanimous decision?
Split decision, dude, against the champion. And I was like, come on, like that is such bullshit. Like, it's such bullshit. And I was just like, you know, like you don't get points for defending. And they had scored it as if they like gave him points for defending getting taken down, or like defending a position, getting back up to his feet. It's like, but you don't score for that. You only score for offense. And I was taking him down. I was on top. I was attacking submissions. He wasn't doing anything. He was defending the whole fight. So I'm like, if you're defending the whole fight, how can you win a fight? It doesn't make sense to me.
Sometimes I mean, I know they say you got to beat the champion decisively, and maybe in their minds decisively meant like a knockout or something. Which is wrong.
Champion, you know?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I'm thinking back. Yeah. So actually, so then even more in your favor that side.
Dude, I was like, how? Like, and so after that, I was like really butthurt. I was like, dude, that is the biggest bullshit. I sent that video to Herb Dean. Like, I sent the video to him. Well, my coaches at the time did it, and he scored the fight 4 rounds to 1 to me, and I was like, yeah, that's exactly how I scored the fight too. 4 rounds to 1. That's exactly how I scored it. And so I was like really, really butthurt about that. And so like, then I fought Boyd Allen. And I mean, I believe I won that fight too. But, you know, I wasn't like too bummed about the draw. I was like, whatever, I don't actually care. Like it was more just about like enjoying the fight. And I had most guys don't know this, but I had torn my PCL and my ACL like 6 weeks before that in Thailand. I was in Thailand, I tore my ACL, PCL. I had a Thai fight like 2 weeks later after that, and then came back 6 weeks later for Boyd Allen. That's why I only boxed him the whole fight, because I was like, I can't kick, I can't wrestle. Let me just stand and like trade with this dude. And he's a pretty good boxer. And I was like, I felt like I outboxed him, so I was like whatever. And then again, I was like, okay, now you gotta fight for the title against Leon Maynard again. And I'm like, guys, like, what do I, like, even if I beat him now, he's still 2-1 up. It's like, what's the point of taking this fight? Like, there is no point. I didn't want the fight. I wasn't interested in it at all. The EFC were like pushing me to take the fight, and I was like, oh fuck, okay, well I want to fight, so I'll take it. But I wasn't interested in it at all. So like, my mind wasn't in it. I wasn't like motivated to try win. I was like, whatever, let's just go do this, you know. So like that performance was like shocking. Like for me, it was like the worst performance of my career. For
really?
Sure. Yeah.
Is he the toughest opponent of your career, or?
Toughest in terms of like grind, like grit. Yeah, for sure, definitely. Like he's super, super tough. Like most guys quit, you know, like or break. Like I had him in a choke in our second fight that like most guys would 100% tap to, and he didn't. You know, if I had 10 more seconds, he would have gone to sleep. Like I believe that for sure, because he was like purple. Yeah. But he wasn't going to tap. He was going to go to sleep. And so like that kind of like toughness is like. But in terms of like skill wise, definitely don't think he was the toughest skill wise. I think like probably skill wise, you're looking at like Boyd Allen, even Costa. Like their skill sets and what they do are like really, really good. Like Boyd striking is really, really good. Yeah, Costa's grappling is really good. So like, yeah. But in terms of like an actual like fight, like Leon, yeah, definitely a tough dude. Yeah.
No, he is. I mean, I still remember that first fight. Like I said, he was bleeding all over, cuts all over. Really, really tough guy. And so then a few fights later, you had the Jadson Costa fight.
Yeah.
What was the whole beef there? I mean, like what exactly led up to the beef, and then obviously during the fight, I saw the promos and everything at the time, and now again. But what's the whole story behind that beef?
Oh man, it's such a stupid story, man. So when I was obviously at PFA, and I set up a meet when I made the decision that like, look, I need to go train with the best guys, and that was, for me, was in Johannesburg with FFM. They were the best team at the time. They had the most champions. They still do have the most champions of all time out of any gym in South Africa. And I still do believe it's the best team in the country. So I was like, I need to go and I need to do this for me, because like that's what's important. Is I need to, like, I'm at a crossroads in my career. I need to either go all in or go all out. And so I was like, I'm gonna go all in. So I sat Mike down and I was like, I've been speaking to Rich at FFM, and I want to go there and I want to start training with them. I would still love to be able to train here while I'm here, but for my fight camps, I have to go there and I have to go and put in the work, and train with like the best guys. And he was like totally on board with that, and he was cool. And then at the same time, like 2 weeks later, I had that opportunity for the gym. And same thing, I sat him down at his house and I was like, this is the situation. Like, we want to start our own thing. That doesn't mean I don't want to be involved with you guys anymore. I still want to train, but I need to start setting my future up, like I can't just be like a fighter. What happens
when it's done?
When that's done, I've got to have something to have for me. And
which is completely understandable.
Yeah, and I guess like obviously, like I understand like the resentments and the response that I got because of that from him. I understand it like as an adult, as a man. But at the time I was like, like I had the integrity to like sit down with you and talk to you about it, as a man, face to face. And we were like on like an understanding, we were like, he was cool. As soon as we left, everything flipped. It was like deleted off all the groups, everyone that like I was like friendly with or like close to, just like cut me out. So I was like literally like blacklisted, like completely. And I was like, whoa, like, dude, that's not at all as I thought this was gonna go.
As the conversation went as well.
I thought like, cool, we're gonna go do like, we started Madfit. It wasn't to have fighters. It was literally box fit. No MMA, box fit. It was to make money. It was like, cool, we want to just like have a place where we can teach people boxing as fitness. That's it. Like, that's all. That was like the only thing we wanted to do. And man, I hold a grudge, bro. And like when that happened and like I got that sort of like response, I was like, okay, now I'm gonna make this gym the biggest fucking gym in Cape Town. And now you're gonna have competition, because it's like, do me like that, bro. Like, come on, like, Anyway, like me and Mike are cool now. Like, it's just like that's in the past. But the beef with Jadison came from like that sort of like environment. Jadison had left PFA to start his own jiu-jitsu academy. And seeing as I was like his purple belt, he expected me to go with him. And I said, look, I can't leave Mike, who's been good to me, to go with you because you and Mike have like a beef. Like, I've got to stay loyal to the guys that have helped me. So I can't just like leave Mike and be like, oh, well, fuck you, I'm going to go to Jadison now because he wants to go. It's like, I can't do that, bro, sorry. And he got like butthurt with me about that. And he was like, then he started like calling me out like on like Twitter and stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? Like, why? And first of all, I know how our sparring went in the gym. I used to beat the fuck out of him, like every session. Yeah, okay, if we rolled, he would tap me.
Pure jiu-jitsu, of course. Yeah.
But if we did like real sparring, like the amount of times that he'd be like knocked out and like blood all over the mats would be like a lot.
In sparring?
A lot. Because he was like, he had an ego, so like he would get hurt and like try and like firefight with me. And like he was always gonna lose that match, And he just kept talking shit, and like eventually I was like, okay, motherfucker, now we're gonna fight. Now we're gonna fight.
And he had a belt at the time as well,
Yeah,
right? So it was like even. I'm sure it wasn't about the belt, but it
He didn't have the title. He didn't have the UFC title, no. But he had like been fighting in like America, and he had like.
Sorry, I thought he was the champion at the time.
No. He had like he had won the welterweight belt already previously, yeah. But then he had like moved to America, and he was like training in America, and then he was still calling me out. So I was like,
Let's do it.
if you really want to come here for this beatdown, like let's do that, you know. And I already had like I'd already had a fight with FFM, so I was really like in the system, and like pretty confident, you know, like wherever the fight went, I was like, if we grapple, I'm gonna beat you in a grappling match now. You know, I'm not like the same. I'm not the kid that you used to train. I'm like a man now. Like we can fight, and I'm gonna beat you. And so we obviously know how that like fight went. Like that's exactly how I saw it going. And the funniest thing about that guy is like,
you said you were lucky afterwards or something like that. Like,
lucky. Dude, like I literally sat in his guard, in his closed guard, and I punched his face until he couldn't respond anymore. It's like how is that lucky? Like
super dominant.
To like beat the brakes off him. Like it's the first round. It's like 3 minutes into the fight.
Yeah.
Like you're like, what are you talking about? Anyway, but the worst thing about that guy is like after the fight, so I'm not like this. If we talk shit, I have like real beef with you. I'm not doing it for like the camera. If like we're talking shit, like it's real to me. After the fight, we're like in the medic room. You have to get checked out, and he's like, "Hey man, you know, like it's only for business." And I was like, "Fuck you, bro. It's not business." And, like smacked his hand away. I was like, "No, I'm not gonna shake your hand. Like we're not friends. I'll fuck you up again. Like now, if we have to do it, you know." And so like then like my teammates were standing around, and they're like, "No, like you know," because I was like getting like revved up, and I'm like, "We're gonna fight again, bro. Like I'm gonna whoop you again." And like that's like my worst part about like all the hype and stuff of fights is that like guys do it off the camera, but for me, it's real, dude. Like if we out in the streets and like you talking shit to me, like I take that real. Like I'm like, okay, then let's fight then, you know, let's just handle it. That's like how I've always been. Like if you're gonna talk shit to me, we're gonna handle it like there, you know. Like I'm not gonna talk about it. Oh, see you in the fight. Like no, we're gonna handle it there. And I've always said that. I say if someone touches me at like a weigh-in, we're fighting there. And you saw like with me and Jadison, like
it was tense.
I was ready to fight that.
I know, yeah. I could check when you were talking. You were like, you were like revved up. You know, like when you get that, like it's hard to talk sometimes when you're like super pissed off. Yeah, I saw that.
There, dude. I was like really pissed off. I was like, I can't believe this guy's talking all this shit about me. And like I've only been cool to him. Like I used to give him like rides around Cape Town. Like he needed lifts. I used to like pay him for privates. I was like super cool to him. Like really, really cool. Like I really respected him. And then like I would have still gone and done jiu-jitsu sessions with him, but like when he left, he was like made it seem like I was being the dick for not leaving the guys that have like helped me. Like I'm not like that, you know. I can't just like up and leave guys and just be like, well, fuck you, you know, cool. Like no, I'm not like that. And so like that's kind of like the beef that we had. It was like it's just so stupid. Like for me, it's like it was just so like childish. It was like high school, you know. It's like come on, like what, like. Oh, you don't want to be my friend anymore? Well, then we can't, like...
You can't be friends with anyone else now. Like, yeah, that's stupid, man. But where's that guy now? Has he gone back? I actually put his name in YouTube the other day, and I saw he was teaching jiu-jitsu still. Has he gone back to Brazil? Is he in the US? Or?
I think he's still in the US. I think he has a gym in Michigan or something. Yeah. I think he's. Man, like I'll still say it. Like he was still one of the best guys to train with. Like in terms of like a jiu-jitsu teacher, like most of like the stuff that like I have as like my fundamentals, I learned from him. And like I wish he wasn't the type of person that he is, and he was just like a better person. Because dude, I would love to still learn from him, because like I did feel like as a teacher he was a really, really good teacher, like a really good teacher. But as a person, a human being, like shocking, like horrible. And like I find that a lot with like martial arts. Like the people might be good teachers, but the people themselves, like it's so hard to find like a good like human, you know, that's like gonna be able to like teach you. And like that's what I feel like I have like with Richie. You know, like Richie, he's like literally one of the only people that like I've ever trained with that like really doesn't give a shit about him. He's only worried about you and your success as an athlete. Like he really just does not care if like his name is mentioned, if he gets any like praise, if like nothing. He doesn't care. He's like, I just want you to do well. And like That's literally like all you want. That's like all you want as an athlete. Like I've said this to him. I've said this like multiple times. I'd follow that guy into Afghanistan. You know, like I'd go with him to Somalia. You know, and like I feel like I try to like sort of follow in those footsteps. Like now, if I teach people, like I really want people to be like trust in me. You know, like I try like to be that guy on the mat.
Yeah.
Know that you're safe here, you know, like you're not gonna get like hurt when you're training, like trying to keep.
People need
same
that.
thing, yeah.
People really need that. I saw you at the ADCC here in Cape Town as well, like, and like how involved you were, and like it was really cool to see, man. It was like, because you had really good. I mean, you can be good on the mat, but it's always good to have your coach there as well. And you had every single fight. You were sitting in the corner there, giving advice when people were in bad situations. Maybe they didn't know maybe they hadn't been in that situation before, but you're always there to help everybody, and it was really cool to see you being that involved, because not everybody is that involved, you know, and it's like you say, some people take it it's all about them. So we have a few good coaches like in Cape Town that are all about the students, which is awesome, because like we say, it's not just about the fights, it's about the people learning whatever life lessons or anything. So after EFC you went to UFC. Chris, how did you meet Chris Cyborg? That's what I want to know, because I know she played a part a little bit in you getting to the UFC, right?
Yeah, she was a major part. I mean, I know her fiance Ray Albie from Tiger Muay Thai. He used to be one of the jiu-jitsu teachers there, and I used to help him a lot with like sparring, because obviously I was like an elite striker at the time, and he needed sparring for like his MMA fights. So I would go and I would help him, and like we had like a really good relationship. So anyway, like years later, him and Cyborg started seeing each other, and like he does a lot of her like training camp, like helps build the training camp around what type of fighter she's approaching. So she was getting ready to fight Holly Holm, and he needed a tall left-handed striker. So he was like, "Hey, do you want to come out to America, and do you want to come help be Chris's sparring partner?" He knew me that I wasn't like one of those dickheads that if you spar, I'm gonna try and like hurt you, you know, like try to prove a point or anything. Like we're gonna spar, like we're gonna like learn off each other, you know. So I felt like he probably like trusted me enough that I wasn't gonna go there and try and like prove points on her and hurt her. And so yeah, man, I got that opportunity to go there, and we were actually at the time we are managed by the same management company now as well, but we were managed by the same manager then as well. And so when I went over, she was obviously like really impressed with me, and so she was like saying to the manager like, "Yo, this guy needs to be in the UFC. Like, how is he not in the UFC? Like, it's crazy that he's not in the UFC." And then like I trained at like Cobrinha and like roll with all the guys there, and then like the same thing. They're like, "Why aren't you doing ADCs? Like, why aren't you doing Worlds, IBJJF Worlds? Like, what's going on? Like, how you're not in the UFC? Like, why are you not in the UFC?" And I'm like, I'm trying, I'm trying to get in the UFC. So that was like kind of the response. And so Chris really pressured the UFC to sign me, because she was like, "You guys like have to sign this guy. He's good. Like he's really good. I won't fight unless you guys sign this guy." That's how like adamant she was. Yeah. And so that like created like quite a bit of beef with her in the UFC. She already had quite a bit of beef.
Yeah, I was gonna say it always seemed like, even before she joined the UFC, because they were always pushing Ronda Rousey.
Yeah.
And then everybody kept asking like, "When are you gonna fight Cyborg? When are you gonna fight Cyborg?" And they were kind of like always ducking the question, you know.
Yeah, I think like there was like they had quite like a bad relationship already, and that obviously didn't help. That didn't help my relationship with the UFC either, to be honest.
It's cool that she would put her neck on the line like that for you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really cool.
But the UFC, like one thing about them is that they don't like to be told what to do. Okay. And so like you could see it, like my first fight, I was like lined up to lose. Like this was their like boy from the Contender Series. Yeah. This is the guy that's going to be the next guy to get the push. Let's get this motherfucker in and use him as cannon fodder. And like it felt like that for me too, you know. Like I kind of like knew that's what they were trying to do, and I'm like, no, I'll kill that kid. Like I know I can beat that guy. That guy's not good. Like he's just got hype. And so I had that fight with him. Went well. And then after that, it was just like, it's just like such a bad like relationship with them. Like they just never like I would be like, okay guys, like I really want to fight in, I would say to my manager, like, please ask him to set up a fight for me in London, you know. There was one in April, straight after that fight. I was like, please, London's like so much easier for me to travel. It's like a 10-hour flight. There's no time difference. Like it's much easier for me. Like I really want to get in that card. And I was like begging them. I was like, please, I want to fight Stephen Ray. I was like, I like put it out like on social media. I was like, I really want that fight. Please, please, please. And they were just like, no, like to everything that like just no. And then they would just be like, here's the fight that you're gonna have. So then they like offer me the fight to fight in Abu Dhabi against Mustafayev. And I was like, yeah, okay, fine, I'll fight that guy. Like everyone thinks like we're supposed to be scared of these Dagestani guys. Like I don't give a fuck. Like I'll fight him, no problem. And then he pulled out. I mean, I don't know. Like he had no reason to pull out. It's like, oh, medical, but it's like, okay, but what medicals? Because there were no X-rays. I asked. I was like, I want to see like doctor's notes. What was the reason? Like, and there was no reason. There was literally no reason for him pulling out. He just didn't want to take the fight. So I was like, okay, well, cool. And then they gave me like the French boy. And I was like, okay, well, cool. Like, that doesn't really matter. Like, you know, 3 weeks before the fight, change of opponent, like, doesn't really matter. Went there, broke my hand in the first, like, minutes of the fight, which was, like, obviously that was going to happen. Like, just my luck, you know? And so then I had to, like, adapt mid-fight and just try and, like, get the win, you know? Because I know, like, at that time, I was like, I know they're just waiting for me to lose so they can cut me. Yeah. Because in the contract, it's like, they can cut you at any time, but it can only be after a loss. You know, so I was like, I know
you don't want to get that loss because
like I can't lose because they're gonna cut me. Like I cannot lose. So I was like, I have to get this win, even though I've got a broken hand. I'm gonna win. Like I'll do whatever I have to do. So I got the win, and then like after that, dude, it was just like
7 people pulled out or something crazy like that, dude.
It was like just like an absolute nightmare. Like,
Did you were like daily on Twitter? I remember it was like daily on Twitter. It's like, who's the next fight? Like I just want to fight. Like who's it gonna be? Like why did this guy pull out? Like every day.
Like, honestly, like so frustrating. So first of all, I had a broken hand, so I had 3 months medical suspension, and then the beginning of 2020, I had just come back from the United States, and I was like starting to harass my manager, and I was like, give me a fight, you know, like let's do it. And so we didn't get any fight offers, and then lockdown hit. And I'm like, fuck, now I'm gonna have to sit now for like another like year to get a fight. So then I sat, and as soon as like the flights started opening up in September, I was on his case again. I was like, man, get me a fight. I'm ready to go. I've been secretly training in like lockdown, you know. So I was like in shape. I was ready to go. I was like, get me a fight. Like I'm ready to go. Nothing. No offer. All the way through, from September all the way through to December, no offers. I'd been like on his case, like, dude, when am I getting a fight? I even said to him, I was like, bro, like, what are you doing as a manager? And he was like, bro, I'm on their case. He sent me like all the emails. I'm on their case. They're like, oh yeah, no, we're gonna sort him out. We're gonna like, you know. So I was like, fuck, like, I mean, like, what am I supposed to do? It's been like over a year since my last fight now, and like, I'm sitting like, you know, this is all I do, you know. So then in January, I picked up the phone with him. I was like, dude, if I don't get a fight offer by the end of this week, tell them to take their contract, shove it up their ass, and I'll fucking go fight somewhere else. I can't do this. Like, I'm not that obsessed with being a UFC fighter. I can go fight anyway. I'm a fighter. I have to fight. So then finally, I got the fight to fight Guram in March. So obviously, we know like the most ridiculous shit ever. So 4 weeks before the fight, he pulls out. He's injured. No reason, like no like injury. He pulled out. Oh, he's injured. So I'm like, cool. What injury? Oh, we don't know. Okay. So now you got the fight to fight. What's the other kid? The Afghanistani kid. Anyway, they offered me to fight him. I was like, okay, like fine, I beat him, no problem. Everything's going fine. A week before the fight, they're like, oh, we forgot to like book your visa appointment.
The UFC?
Yeah, a week before. So now they're saying, oh, you can't get a visa appointment, so I don't know, do you want to fly to like Mexico and we can try and do it there, and then like the week of your fight? And I'm like, what? What do you mean you don't have an appointment to get my visa? Like, I've known about this fight for 10 weeks. How have you guys not done that? So then that fight got cancelled. Then I said to my manager, I was like, dude, get me the same fights. I want to fight that same motherfucker but just get it. When he's ready, I'll fight him. Like, I don't want people to be like,
You pulled out, or it was
or like
you,
any
or
bullshit. I'm like, I want the same fight. So then they arranged to get the same fight for July of 2021. 4 weeks before the fight, pulls out again, just like the last time. I'm like, now what? Oh, it's the same injury. Like,
which is what? Because they didn't even tell you the first time.
oh, it's the same injury. I'm like, okay, well, cool.
Undisclosed injury. Undisclosed.
Yeah, it's always like that, and it's like, okay, well, cool. Can you guys give me a replacement? No one's gonna be able to replace him at this time. Like, so I'm like, okay, well, like, now what? Oh, we'll just reschedule you for another fight. And I was like, oh man, I'm done, bro. Like at that point, I was like, dude, I'm just done. I'm just done with like this, all of this shit. I'm just like done. Like, I'm done with it. So anyway, like, then we parted ways with the UFC. It was like a lot of like back and forth. And
How easy is it to part ways with them in that
it's a shit show. Like, it's an absolute shit show. Like, it's a shit show.
So they want to basically keep you around, but they're not going to give you fight.
At that time, it felt like that for me. I mean, I don't know if that was the case, but it felt like that for me. I was like, okay, but like, I'm wasting like my prime right now. Like, I'm in my prime. I need a fight, you know, and like, I'm just not getting fights. It's just not fair, to be honest. And so we parted ways, and I said to my manager at the time, I was like, dude, it looks like that PFL, that looks like a really, really cool thing, and you fight 4 times in a year. As long as you win, obviously, you get to fight 4 times in a year. Like, maybe I can make up for the last 2-3 years, you know, and like get some fights. And so I really, really pushed to, and he was like, oh, but the season only starts like next year. I'm like, dude, just get me a fight this year, please, because it's been such a shit show, and I've had so many fights canceled, and I've done so many camps, and camps are expensive. My wife was pregnant at the time, so like, then I had my son, and it's just like I need to fight. I want to fight. So we got the fight, and then, you know, the rest is history. Like, in the PFL, bro, like, completely the opposite experience that I had with the UFC. Like, just like super cool to deal with. Everyone like treated me like nice,
properly,
like,
how it's
really
supposed to
nice,
be.
you know, like, I didn't feel like I was just there to like fill a card. Like, you know, I felt like I was part of like a promotion. You know, they pushed me on like social media. I was like, really felt like, wow, this is like, okay, this feels good, you know, this feels nice. Like, I'm really happy. So like, I'm like super, super happy to be there. And like, people always ask me like, oh, will you go back to the UFC? I'm like, no, probably not. Like, probably not.
I was going to ask you if you would one day, but is that relationship just mended? Or
I just think like, I honestly don't think like that relationship is something that like I'm interested in, like trying to like, it just feels like you have to like I hate saying it like this, but it just feels like you have to suck so much dick in order to fucking like get anywhere with the UFC. It's not even about like just winning. It's like, look at the guys like Islam Makhachev, like he keeps winning and he has to like beg for a title shot.
And he might not have got it if he wasn't related to Habib.
Exactly. And it's just like, because he's not the guy that's like making noise and like talking shit or like up like.
There was talks of Conor McGregor getting a title fight actually before him. So
I mean,
it's
like,
exactly like you say.
It's unreal. It's unreal. And like the way that they treat like Charlie or Oliveira, like it's just like.
I think that also the CM Punk story was like just as like the proper, and now there's talks maybe about Logan Paul going into the
it's
UFC.
Just so stupid. It's just so unfair to like the guys that like are out there that are like 20-0 and like just like dying to get their opportunity, and it's just like what more? I understand that it's entertainment, totally get it, but is it not entertaining to see 2 good guys fight? For me, I'm like, I'd rather watch 2 really good guys fight than like 1 really good guy and 1 like average guy get the shit kicked out of him.
Yeah.
That's not interesting to me. I don't want to see someone just get smashed, because I can just come to a gym and watch like a professional fight an amateur in sparring and watch that every day. That's easy. I'd rather watch 2 really good guys fight each other and like see like the little like details. Yeah, like that to me is like super interesting. And like that's kind of like been like lost a little bit like nowadays, you know. It's like more about like, oh, this guy's the star, so he needs to kick the shit out of everyone that he fights. Like a movie, you know. It's like I'm the star of the movie, so I'm gonna fuck everyone up. You know?
It's like in wrestling when you got the main guy and you got the jobbers that come in and it's
exactly.
like enhancement talent, like they call it.
Exactly. Yeah. And like it feels like that. And I for me, like that's not a fit for me. I'm not the type of person that's like gonna sell out and like smile for the camera and like be that guy. I'm just not that guy, unfortunately, and maybe that's just the way like it goes, you know. Like some people just aren't made to be like, hey, guess what? I'm gonna be on this card. Like, hey, like I'm not that guy. I'm a fighter. So give me a fight, I'll fight, and I'll put on a show. I'll put on a show. I'm gonna fight as hard as I can, and I'm gonna try to finish everyone that I fight. You know, as best as I can.
And that to me is entertaining.
Yeah, man. Like I mean, and like I said for this last my last fight, even though it didn't go my way, I said I want to fight the champion first. I don't want to sneak past the good guys because it's like a tournament thing. Give me the champion, and I'll show you I'm better than him. I'll show you that I'm better than him. And like I feel like I did.
You did, yeah. No, you did.
Like I did. I was much better than him.
I hate using the word lucky, but it was he clipped you.
Yeah.
I mean that was it.
Yeah.
You were winning the whole fight until that point, and it was just like it's something that can happen in fighting, of course. I mean, it's
one of those.
It is what it is, you know.
Yeah. And like I also hate the term lucky because nothing's lucky. Like he threw the shot, caught me, got me, fair to him, you know. But I do feel like I still proved that I was better than him.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
up to that point, for sure. Yeah. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's a shot. It can happen in a fight, and it can happen at any time.
Absolutely.
That's what makes fighting so exciting.
Yeah.
So what do you do? So it's a season, and then there's the tiers, or like an 8-man tournament. So if you get eliminated from the tournament, you wait till the next year to fight again, or okay.
So it's, I mean, I could have fought again, but I had a broken foot, so like I could have got into the next qualifying match, but obviously I couldn't. I wasn't ready in time to compete. I've actually only just started training, like kicking and stuff now this month, because I had to wait for like the little bones to heal. But yeah, so like if I had been able to compete, I would have been able to compete and maybe qualify for the playoffs, which they're doing now, and then still be able to fight for the $1 million. But obviously I wasn't able to. So I'm actually speaking to my manager about trying to get like a once-off fight just this year, just to get back in, just so like I can get another fight in, and then next year do the season. And I'm actually considering moving up a division to welterweights, just because like, especially in like a tournament setting, cutting weight so many times a year is I'm pretty big for the division.
Yeah, I was going to ask you what, or you don't have to say it, but like you look way too big for 70.
Yeah. And this is just like me, like normally, you know, like it's just like my natural build. Yeah. And it's been like that for the last like, sort of 5 years, you know. It's just been, I'm not like a natural lightweight. I mean, like I said, I've been fighting at 70 kilograms since I was 15, so it's just like, you know, I'm 31 now. So
as you get older, it's more difficult as well to cut weight. It's more difficult to stay at a lower weight as well.
Yeah. So like I'm thinking of doing the next year at welterweight, and also it'll be like a 10 kilogram cut like total, which is like better than doing like a 20 kilogram cut. You know, like which is what I've been doing for the last like 3-4 fights. It's just like cutting like 15 kilograms.
How does your weight cut work? Do you do like mostly water drop at the end, or?
Yeah. So you'll diet down as much as you can without like losing too much like muscle mass, because like that's always like the balance, you know. You work hard to build muscle, and then you don't have to lose it to make the weight. So like I work with like dietitians and like nutritionists and stuff, and I try to get my weight down as low as I can without having to cut into the muscle, which is like pretty tough, because I get to around like 81, 82 kilograms, and then I'm like at like 8% body fat, and it's like if we keep cutting down, we're gonna have to take muscle. So like I'm usually doing like anywhere from 8 to 10 kilograms like that last week. So it's tough, you know. It's a tough cut. It's a tough cut. But yeah, I try to diet down as much as I can, and then from there, just rid the water.
You stay energized, because I did a few bodybuilding shows where I had to cut weight as well. So I had a weight limit, and I think I cut in my first show. I cut from like in the last 5 days from 97 to 88. It was a big, but it's all water drop.
Okay.
And I was like buggered that day, dude. If you asked me to run 500 meters, I couldn't.
Yeah.
I was done. How do you stay energized like in that time? I mean, you
don't
really
like the morning of the weigh-ins. Yeah, I'm like basically like a zombie, you know. Just like don't want to do anything. Just want to get on the scale so I can start like hydrating. And like if you had to ask me to make weight then and like then fight in the afternoon, I'd be like, well, no, I can't do that. There's no ways I can do that.
Not just your body, it's your brain as well. Because when you're at that low body fat, your brain. I scraped my car that week as well. Because like I was between two pillars, and I started turning like as I put the car on like way too early, and I didn't even realize. I just heard this sound, and I was like,
Yeah.
did I really just do that? Like my brain was gone, dude. I was like, you feel tired. It's like nothing works properly. Like
It's literally the worst. It's like I always tell people this: the worst part of fighting is cutting weight. It's like I'll train all day, every day. I'll go through like brutal sparring sessions, conditioning sessions, no problem. Don't ask me to cut weight, please. It's like the worst part of fighting, and like it's just a necessary evil, because everyone does it. Even like at 1FC, everyone thinks people aren't cutting weight.
Yo, how do the weigh-ins work there? Because like again, like I said, I haven't watched a lot of 1FC, and like I know the weigh-in was different because didn't Eddie Alvarez miss weight, I think, as well, or we had a problem there, or I think it was that he was fighting at a higher weight or whatever. But how does the weigh-in work there? Like, what's different there?
Well, first of all, people need to understand that their weight brackets are different. So, lightweight, for instance, is 155 pounds, but in 1FC, it's 155 pounds to 170 pounds. Okay. So you can weigh anywhere within that bracket. That's technically lightweight. Anything after 170 pounds is welterweight. From welterweight to middleweight, 170 to 185. So anywhere between there, you can weigh in. So technically, you're not really fighting at lightweights as we understand. You're fighting at just under welterweight. So like the guys are weighing at like 76.5 and fighting at a lightweight bout. The trick with them is that you have to first pass a hydration test, which you pee in a cup and they test your hydration, which is not really hydration because it's how much water you have in your pee. That's it. Like, and
which
now,
when you're water loading is all water in your pee.
Yeah, and like now, speaking to like friends and stuff that I have that do like weight cuts and stuff like that, professional weight cutting advisors, they're like, yeah, dude, what you have to do is you have to cut like a kg or two like more. So like if you have to weigh in at 57, like BK, you have to cut to 55, drink 2 liters of water, get to 57, your pee will be like water basically. And then
you're under the weight and you've got the water. Okay.
We didn't know that. I was like, cool. So what we were doing was super hydrating like the week, like a water load. The day before the weigh-in, hydrating, drinking like electrolytes and stuff to make sure that we were hydrated. And then cutting the weight. And then cutting the weight, making weight, and then going to go do the hydration test. So I'm like, okay, we haven't cut a lot of weight. We cut like 2 kilograms, like not a lot of weight. So I'm like, he's definitely hydrated. Like he has to be. He was sweating like super easily. So I was like, he has to be hydrated. We were rehydrating last night. He has to be. And he hadn't peed the morning. I'm like, he's holding his pee. He has to be hydrated. So we go there, we failed the hydration test. I'm like, fuck, how? And we were on weight. So I'm like, look, I'm not going to make him cut weight anymore. He had already cut weight 4 times trying to make this hydration test. I'm like, I'm not going to make him do it anymore. Like, we're going to hydrate, pass the hydration, which he did, and then miss weight. Be like, cool, we're going to miss weight. I think it was like, he was 1.5 kilograms, like, up. We said to them, we'll offer half of his purse to the opponent to take the fight. He didn't take the fight. I'm like, okay, but so then we called the opponent and we're like, how much do you weigh right now? The opponent, morning of the fight, 58 kilograms. BK, how much you weigh? 59 kilograms. It's the morning of the fight. He's not going to get heavier. He's 1 kilogram more than you. Like,
there's no real advantage.
And take half of his purse. You're going to take half of his money. Take it. Just to get a fight. You've trained 10 weeks. Surely you want to fight? Didn't want to fight. Which, obviously, it's his prerogative. He can decide if BK didn't make the weight, so. But I'm just like, come on, dude. Like, you're going to get more money. You've trained. And if you truly believe you can beat this guy, take the fight. Beat him.
And if you do beat him, then you're going to get even more respect because you took the fight.
Exactly. And you're going to climb the ranks. And you're going to get a title fight. So, like, take the fight. Didn't want to take the fight. So, like, it did feel like a complete waste of time. Like, it was really, really frustrating. And I was just like, you know, is there no, like, leeway? Like, can we not, like, maybe make him fight at, like, 58? We'll go and we'll lose another kilogram. And so that we stay hydrated. we'll go and do that, you know. But and the guy was like, no, to like nothing. So we're like, okay, well then I guess no fight.
So do they not? I mean, okay, you obviously don't speak for ONE FC, but do you not think that might have negatively affected the other fighter because, you know, they still got to put on a show? I mean, you got to try to do everything you can. I mean, you see it all the time in all mixed martial arts organizations. People still take the fight because it's not just about you and like you get the purse and like you get to fight and whatever. It's about the organization as well, getting the fight out there. And I mean, they'd hype that fight up quite a bit because BK's story as well is like an awesome story to hear.
Yeah.
People really like were drawn to that as well. So there was a lot put into that. And maybe, you know, okay, again, it's his prerogative. He doesn't have to take the fight, but I mean, I'm sure they would be disappointed that he didn't take it.
Yeah, I mean, I would be. You know, if I was running the show, I'd be like, come on, guys, like he's gonna give you more money. You know, don't you want to get paid? Like, you've trained hard. Should you want to get paid?
Yeah.
Like, I know I would. I know if I was in the position and the guy had missed weight and he was the morning of the fight 1 kilogram more than me, like, he doesn't have an advantage. There's no real advantage. The only difference is, do I believe I have the skill to beat him or not?
Exactly.
And like, he obviously didn't believe that he had the skill. And so is what it is.
So with ONE FC having the Muay Thai there, if your mixed martial arts career ever comes to an end, do you think you would ever fight Muay Thai again, or would you be done fighting if you?
I've been asked this question a lot. You know, there was a time that I almost went into pro boxing, and I think that's something that I would probably like go for. Like if I ever stopped doing MMA, or like maybe like I got bored of it, or I came to like a point in my career where I was like, oh, you know, I've had enough. I want to do something else. I think pro boxing is something that I definitely would like to do. It's something that I was like this close to doing.
Really?
Yeah. Like it was like after my match with Boyd, and I'd obviously done a lot of boxing for that training camp, and you know, Matt was like begging me to go into pro boxing. He was like, dude, you'll be champion. Like you will be the champion. Like there's no doubt. And I was so frustrated at that point with the UFC because I was like, you guys keep screwing up my decisions. You know, you screwed me on the decision for my title. You screwed me on this decision. I'm like, how am I ever going to progress in MMA if I keep getting fucked by the judges? You know, like I can't finish everyone. I'm trying. Believe me, I'm trying. But I can't finish everyone. Some people are just tough. Or they have like an awkward style. It's just like, Boyd's like awkward to fight. You know, it's hard to finish him. And so at that point I was like, fuck, I was meeting with promoters and I was like, hey, maybe this is the way to go, you know, and like promoters and like other boxing trainers are like watching me spar. I used to travel to other boxing gyms to go spar because like just to get guys to go against. And I would have like guys line up on the ring, like a bunch of professionals line up on the ring to spar me, and I would just fucking like send one after the other. And I was like, and that time I was like, fuck, maybe this is for me, you know, maybe boxing's the thing, you know. So yeah, I think that's definitely something that I'll pursue like after MMAs, maybe like have 1 or 2 professional boxing fights just to say I've done it. But I'm definitely going to be competing in grappling competitions now. Like I probably want to do the Submission Kings in October. Try to get a super fight with someone. That's definitely something that I want to do because I do believe I'm like one of the best grapplers in the country, 100%. Like I said, I've traveled around the world. I've trained with a bunch of different people. I've rolled with almost everyone there is to roll with in South Africa. So like I kind of like know my level where I'm at, and I would really like to go out there and like maybe put on a little show like in grappling as well.
I mean we've got a lot of good guys. I mean that's it's a fun show as well. I love what Submission Kings is doing. I think we've needed that because like okay, I was around the jiu-jitsu world like from 2006. Trained a little bit, but then took a break and everything. But I used to go to competitions and watch back then it was like 5 people organized like a thing together. And now you've got AJP, okay, ADCC was always around there, but Submission Kings I think is the one that's
like a real show, man.
It's a proper show. Yeah. What is the would you do it at welterweight? Oh, they just had the welterweights. Sorry, not the middleweights they just had.
Yeah, I would probably do like super fights. I'd probably get a super fight for this one, like against whoever.
You don't want to do the brackets, the 8-man.
I mean, yeah, if they have, but I probably won't do it at welterweight. I'll probably do it at middleweight at A3, just because like I'm not going to cut weight if I'm not getting paid to. You know, only if you win you get paid. You know, like
sure.
I'm not gonna cut weight if I'm if I'm not getting paid for it. Like no. So I'll probably do like the 83 kilogram division eventually if they have another one. But I'm definitely looking for a super fight for October. I've been talking to the guys at Sub Kings like Al and Warren and them. So you know, hopefully I'll get
a fight.
Get a match.
They've got. I see they've got rankings now with the belts. So maybe they're going to do like stop the brackets and then they're going to do title fights. That'll be cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, like Cameron trains here, Pritchard, and like he's probably one of the best grapplers in the country. You know, he trains here, and I think he's the best guy in that division. Like, I know I train with him every day. He's really good.
Dude, sorry, how does he make middleweight? Because he's huge, dude. Like when I saw his name on the middleweight thing, I was like, what?
Yeah.
And then he even said afterwards, he's like, I'll do light heavyweight or heavyweight. I was like, man, that's a weight cut, you know.
He doesn't actually cut that much weight. I think like Cam is like, I don't know, like 86, 87 kilograms. He's just like muscular, you know. He's like he's an athletic guy, you know. He's strong. Cam's really strong. Guys don't realize that like how like physical he is. He's like really, really strong. And that's also like kind of like, you know, our style like coming from like Richie and stuff. We're like heavy like top pressure wrestling, like heavily top pressure game, you know. So like that kind of like makes your body into like a different way. You know, you look at a guard player, then you look at like a top grappler, like you can see like the way that they're built, like it's a little bit different, you know. And I think that's kind of like the difference there, and that's why Cam, like, you know, he's a stocky dude, he's a strong guy. He's also fought MMA, so like, you know, he's like his body's like built for like combat, you know.
The MMA guys seem to do a lot better in the jiu-jitsu competitions than the pure jiu-jitsu guys. The movements are different, and like that pressure, like you were saying as well. Like I think in a lot of the grappling competitions, you see the MMA guys really killing the jiu-jitsu competition. I mean, your grappling is at a high level in any event, regardless of the MMA. But I think with the MMA background as well, you're gonna kill it, man. I'm excited to see that.
I do think it's also like the mindset, you know. Like when I know for me, like when I go into compete, it's like you know, me or him, you know. And I think like
Nate Diaz says, kill or be killed.
Yeah, like, and I think like guys that have fought professionally that go into like a grappling competition, their mindset's still like that, you know, because you only really have like one switch, you know. It's not like, oh, I'm gonna like dim that switch. It's like, okay, we're competing, so like everything goes, you know. Whereas like I think like a lot of guys when they're doing like a jiu-jitsu comp, it's like, oh, it's fun, you know. Like it's, whereas like for me, it's not fun. Like I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win.
Dude, I messed my shoulder up in my last one just from a takedown. I did the open weight one, and I mean, okay, I weigh about 110, but it's not at the top of the weight class in any event. So like you get up against these dudes that are like freaking not wrestlers, like rugby players. And it's like the dude just flung me. I don't even know what happened, and my shoulder just popped out. Like it's not a fun thing. People are there serious, you know, serious with it.
It's competition, man.
Exactly, and you got to be switched on. And if you're not, then things can happen.
Absolutely.
I wanted to ask you, which I saw a really cool thing on. I don't know, you might have shared it, or if I saw it on Norman Vessel's or Rich Kwan's Instagram about the black belt ceremony that they have. I think it's really cool. Like they send you like an invitation, and you know ahead of time, and then it's obviously like a very big ceremony and stuff. But I wanted to ask you, like, you just recently got your black belt. What, about a year ago, I think, eh?
No, in March.
Oh, in March this year. Sorry, it was this year. Excuse me. Sorry. So this whole COVID from 2020 to 2022 feels like the 2 years feels like 1 year. So is it already? So the guys obviously see you training in the gym. If you go to the black belt ceremony, do you like the whole what do they call that, crucible kind of thing where you spar with a lot of people, and then, you know, is it just like a big ceremony? Like how does it work?
So for like our affiliation, like you get invited to your black belt ceremony, and you have to present a seminar. Okay. So as a black belt, you have to be able to coach everyone on the mat in a seminar based on like one thing that you want to like focus on. It's like, so whatever your skill set is, or whatever, you have to transfer that knowledge to everyone on the mat as a black belt, in order to, because, you know, black belt is your teaching belt. It's not like anything else, you know. So you have to be able to pass the knowledge on, and that's kind of like what the ceremony is. So you have to like plan and structure a seminar and teach it. Teach the seminar to everyone there, and that is the process of getting your black belt. Leading up to that, from white to brown, it's death rolls. You do like your theory the night before. You go through like techniques, and then on the day, only if you pass your theory, you get to roll. Okay. And the next day, you arrive, and you have to roll every single person in the affiliation. So in Johannesburg, it's like got 4 or 5 different like gyms that all come. There's like 200 people on the mat. You got to roll every single person, from the kids white belts all the way through to the highest black belt, and it's brutal. And like if you get through that, you get your belt. If you quit, you don't get it. Yeah, it's tough.
At every belt.
At every belt level, white to brown, and then your black belt ceremony is teaching. Yeah. That's crazy. Yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal. Wow. It's brutal.
So other than Cameron that you mentioned earlier, who are some of the other guys in the gym and BK? Who are some of the other guys that are sort of up and coming for you guys now? Not just in MMA, but in grappling, boxing, kickboxing, whatever it may be.
Well, like Wade Caspe, he just competed at ADCC, and he like just was. I think he was like the standout for the event.
Purple belt, right?
He just got it. Belt, but he was a blue belt, and he won the intermediate division, and then he competed absolute. Submitted everyone, and then lost in the final. He was the smallest guy. Like he was amazing. So he's obviously like I really want to see him do more grappling, because like he is a really really good grappler, and I do believe like he that's something he should pursue. Like go to sub kings and try and like pursue that sort of. But in terms of like kickboxing, we've got a lot of really really good boxers that train here. Like Dylan Prosser, he's probably going to be going pro now. He's like won Western Province championships. He's come second twice in South African championships. We've got Tana Matodes, who's a South African amateur champion boxer, and like he's starting his MMA career now as well. So I'm just trying to get him into that. He's fighting Muay Thai on the 3rd of September. He's I like to try and get the guys to fight everything. Like you do boxing, you do Muay Thai, you do MMA, you do Jiu-Jitsu, everything. And then when you decide what you want to go pro in, like if you want to go pro boxing, then go pro boxing. You want to go Muay Thai, then go Muay Thai. So we've got like a lot of like young guys that are coming up that we're really like pushing to compete. Like our guys compete every single month. They're always competing, either grappling, boxing, kickboxing, whatever it is. They're always competing. I think like it brings the level of the whole room up,
Of course.
Like no one ever got worse from competing.
I was about to say that. Yeah, I love that quote.
Yeah.
Because people always like wondering like, oh, should I compete? Shouldn't I compete? It's like, dude, you're not going to get worse.
No.
Like you're just going to be better for it.
Exactly.
You might not win a single match, but at least you'll be better in the lead-up training.
And like sometimes like that doesn't really matter. Like the outcome's going to be the outcome. It's like about going out and like, if you lose, you know what you need to work on.
Exactly.
Like it's cool, because like sometimes, especially in jiu-jitsu, you're like there's so much to learn. But when you go and do a competition, you're like, oh, I just kept getting mounted, so maybe I need to start defending the mount. Like now it's like something to train for, instead of just like, okay, we're just gonna learn all these techniques.
I remember to do this step and that step, and like South Africa, like we said earlier, there's a lot of opportunities, but I still feel like there's a lot of talented guys in South Africa that still aren't making it to the overseas promotions, whether in anything. What do you think still needs to happen for us to get there? Because there's so many talented guys. Like we see it with Submission Kings and grappling, for example. Yeah. All the people that you mentioned in your gym. There's people that we see all the time in competitions. What do people need to do to make it like yourself on an international stage?
Well, I think like we're headed in the right direction. Like you said, like you got Sub Kings, which is like giving grapplers like a really good platform to perform on. You've got Thai Fight Promotions, or Thai Holics Fight Promotions, which is run by Nick Radley, a guy that I actually trained with, which is another amazing opportunity for like Muay Thai fighters to get like real experience. They've got international guys coming through, and it's a really really good promotion. Boxing obviously has been around in South Africa for long, so there's like a lot of opportunities for guys to box. Really, really good opportunities to box. And like I think the great thing with having guys like myself and Drickus and like the Mart, and is that they're constantly looking for places for guys to compete. So you've got like EFC, which has been around for a while, but now you're starting to get like the Versus promotions, which is still amateur, but you know, a couple of years from now, that could be a professional organization. You know, and you start getting guys that, if you look like at every other country in the world, is they have so many different small promotions, and the guys get good experience. So that by the time they get their shot to go overseas, like you got Luke Griffith, who's competing 80cc now. Because he's been competing so much in South Africa, and because Jiu-Jitsu is so alive in South Africa, when he went over there, the guys were like, holy shit, you're so good, you have to stay. And I think that's going to happen with MMA, is that, and with kickboxing and boxing, is that the more the guys get opportunities to compete locally, because we're always so focused about overseas,
You got to do it here first.
you got to make here really good. And I think that's kind of like where we're starting to like focus on now, like with Sub Kings and Tyholics. They're starting to see like, you know what, we've got the talent here. If we develop the talent here first, forget about overseas, develop the talent here, make stars here, let people know who you are in your own country before you go. Like for me, like that was the craziest thing. Like I would go to America and people would like recognize me. I'm like, holy shit. But then I come here and I walk in the mall and like, no one knows who the fuck I am. No one watches MMA.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy shit, like this is crazy, you know? Like it's starting to change now, you know? More people, like now with UFC and stuff being on TV, it's starting to change. People are starting to be like, oh, you're that fighter, you know? Oh, I watch MMA too, I train. And I think like the more we focus on like building like local development, like that's gonna really like change the game. Like if you look at like Russian MMA, they've got so many competitions within Russia that by the time the guys step onto like international platform, they've had 20 fights.
I believe they had what, like 30 amateur fights or something crazy like that.
Something stupid. Like,
and then his Sambo as well on top of that.
Exactly. And it's like, because they can really, really develop the local guys. And I think that is the biggest thing for developing fighters, is creating an atmosphere of really high level competition locally. First, forget about international, like that's gonna come, you know. The worst thing is for a guy to get his first international fight and fail, because it like reinforces that idea that we're not up to par yet.
Yeah.
But when that's not the case at all. It's just that in America you can compete every month if you want. You can in Russia you can compete every month if you want. In the UK you can compete every month if you want. There's fights all the time. We just don't have that yet. But it's changing, you know, like slowly. And that's actually like what I'm trying to do from an amateur point of view, is trying to like put on as many events as I can and let the guys get exposure. Let them like compete. So that when they do take their transition to professional and we start like looking at different places to fight, they've already built like such a strong base. Exactly. So that it's not like, oh shit, now I've had 3 fights.
In front of a big crowd
Yeah,
as well.
like, oh no, now I've got to like perform, and like the pressure gets to them.
Yeah, so last thing I think, because I think we can talk forever, but last thing I just wanted to ask you, like how's things changed for you since you had your son? Obviously life gets better, and I mean it's an amazing thing to be able to be a father, but just in terms of like your career and all that kind of stuff, like how are things changing for you now, being a father and having your son?
Yeah, I mean like, it's like such a blessing, you know, like having him's like changed my whole like outlook on everything, you know, like as a fighter, and I guess like as an athlete or a man, we're very selfish, you know. I mean, I know I was like so selfish. It was just me, and like now having like something or someone that depends on you so much, not just yourself, it like gives like life a different meaning for me personally, you know. Like I want to do well, not because I want to do well. I want him to have something when he gets of age, or I want him to be able to look at his dad and be like, fuck, my dad did something, you know, like he was someone. Like it's not about me anymore, because you know I get really bored of myself. And I think like that's how it's been for like the last like however many years, you know. You get so bored of like me, and now it's like I don't actually give a shit about me, to be honest. Like I just want to do the best I can so that my son
Has the best life again.
never has to do what I did. You know, he never has to go live in like a fucking 5x5 room with like 5 other people in Thailand sweating like fucking, you know, like, you know what I mean? To like get an opportunity to try and make it, you know, he'll never have to do that, and he'll understand like that like nothing comes easy, you know, you have to work hard, and like I want to be that guy. And that whole outlook on life has changed. You know, I used to just like want to work hard to better me, Whereas now I want to work hard, even harder, to better him. That's it.
Do you think he'll be a fighter one day, or you're just not even thinking about that? I mean, I've seen him at the gym, but like, or are you going to just say, look, he can choose to do what he wants to do, and you just want to give him the opportunity to be able to do what he wants to do?
Look, without a doubt, martial arts is going to be in his life. Like that's I think like for every person on the planet, martial arts should be like a staple. It should be in schools. You should be learning martial arts in schools. Whether he wants to fight or not, that's totally up to him. Like obviously as a father, I don't want to even imagine him like getting into a fight and having to fight someone. But there's that part of me that's also like, fuck, he can be a beast.
Of course, dude. I mean, I'm sure it's tempting to be like, he's going to come every day, we're going to train him like from
we're going to lift weights, and we're going to train, and we're going to wrestle, and we're going to, I've really got like BK, like already like, as soon as he's walking, he's going to be wrestling with me. And I'm like, fuck. Like maybe, but I also don't want to be that dad on the sideline that's like pushing the kid, So that's also like, everyone's like, why didn't you name him Don, after you, like Harry Legacy? I'm like, he needs to be his own person, And I feel like a lot of fathers do that. They like name their kid after them, and then they have to follow in their footsteps and like live vicariously through them. I'm like, he's his own person, Like if he never wants to like be interested in like fighting and stuff, like I'll never have a problem with that, As long as he understands the life that we've like built, that's all that really matters to me. And as long as he's happy, and as long as he has a good life, that's all I really care about. And he's healthy, and that's all I really worry about.
Well, Don, thanks very much. I really appreciate the time. I mean, I'd love to do this again. And anytime you're free in the future, we'll be in touch, and I'd love to do it again, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Shot.